Good? Oh, there we go. All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is John Lawrence. I'm the Cathedral Village Community Association Chair, and I'll be your moderator tonight. I'm joined by Paul Bachynski on sound. Welcome to the Cathedral Village Mayoral Candidate Forum. Thank you all for attending both in person and online. Our candidates tonight are Sparvier, Bill Pratt, Chad Bachynski, Lori Bresciani, Kevin Kardash, Bevan and Sandra. For our members of the audience, forms are available at the front table to submit questions to the candidates. Volunteers will collect the submitted questions throughout the event, as well as from the online audience. We ask that you keep your questions short and please refrain from using offensive or combative language. The format for tonight's forum is as follows. Each candidate will be given 2 minutes for introductory remarks. Afterwards, the Community Association will ask 2 questions and each candidate will have 1 minute to respond to each question. After the Community Association questions, submitted audience questions will be read and each candidate will be given 1 minute to respond. And at the end of the event, each candidate will be given 1 minute to give their closing remarks. All right, let us begin. Question 1, oh yeah, opening comments. We got.
Hi, I'm Sparvier. I'm a proud member of the Calvinist First Nations. I just want to say hi, Mom. I also have a rule I never say no to my mom. I just like to put that out there. But anyways, I'm running for mayor of Regina. And what I'm really passionate about running for mayor of Regina is trying to find an income for Regina. Because I believe that if we cannot find income for Regina, then it's our taxpayer that's going to have to pay for all this. It's going to be our children, it's going to be the elders, it's going to be everybody. And then eventually our city will be unattainable to live in. And it won't be a very desirable city to live in. So, higher volume? Like lights up.
One job.
No?
Sorry. Tested these, I swear.
This one's on. This one's on.
Try it again.
Hello?
Try it again.
Tested. There we go. Yay! Okay, well, I'll start over again. Hi, Mom. She's right back there in the back row in the blue coat, just so everyone knows. Anyways, I'm Sparvier. I'm a proud member of the Calvinist First Nations. And what my plan is for mayor is to find income for the city. We need income for the city because without income, it's going to be our children, the elder, and everybody and the taxpayer that's going to be paying for all these new stuff that the city wants. I'm in favor of the city getting all this new stuff, but we need to find income in order to get it done. And the way that I plan to get income for it is I believe that the city will be successful, and one of its only ways it will be successful is by partnering with First Nations or a First Nations. And I say partnering with them in the health service industry. What I would like to do is either build more urgent care centers, surgical rooms, or another hospital. I think surgical rooms are more the way to go in order to get income, because as Scott Moe said in his platform, surgical times are down 25% since COVID. That's a 75% market to get into. And we already have private healthcare in this province if people haven't realized already. For example, we have Life Labs, which was owned by Ontario Municipal Pension Plan Fund, I believe. And it was bought by Quest Diagnostic for $1.35 billion. And they say that they're going to generate $900 million a year in revenue. And that's all going to America. So what my plan is to get these in partnership with First Nations to keep the money locally. And that way we can have revenue coming in to build these projects that we want, to build the new pool that we want, to build the library that we want, to build and to meet the net zero that they want us to meet by 2050. That's going to be a huge expense that the city has to meet. So my whole plan is to generate income for the city. And I also believe by generating income for the city, we should have lower rates for the facility for senior citizens. Oh, what? Oh, 20 seconds left? Okay, I have 20 seconds left. So anyways, I want to make the rates more affordable for the seniors at the Lawson because I believe that seniors should have the fullest extent that they can in order for longevity in life and just the social. aspect of all that, because I know I go to Aquasize with my mom, and it's just a wonderful time that we have there in the social aspect of it. Thank you. Vote Sean for mayor on November 13th.
Hi everyone, my name is Bill Pratt. I grew up on Hill Avenue, so not too far from here. And I wanted to take just this 2 minutes at the beginning here to underscore what I truly believe is the role of the mayor. The mayor is like a leader of the orchestra. You know, we've got our percussion over here, percussion like drums, cymbals. We've got our woods over here, like our clarinets, oboes. Here we've got our strings, violins, cellos. What are we missing? Horns, brass, so trombones, trumpets. The mayor has got to be what I call the orchestral leader of magnificence. The city has so much ability to be magnificent. As the conductor, if I decide as the leader that I'm only going to focus on these two sections over here because I like how they vote with me, they support me as an orchestral leader, it's not good for the city, because what happens is our two sections over here are going to get disgruntled. They start to make their own noise. You know, the percussion, the horns, they start to go out of tune, and it's for us as an audience listening to that orchestra, it's very chaotic. It is not good. The orchestra leader has got to work with every section, inspire the best of all of them, because that's when the goodness happens. That's when things get really good. Now, for those that are in an orchestra and they might be in the disgruntled section, they have every opportunity they need to play along and to make things better. They can't just say, you know what, it's broken, I'm not going to be part of the solution. You need to be part of that solution, even if you're being left out. For me, the final word I would say to you is that as the leader of the orchestra, the leader of council, it's the job of mayor to ensure that the council understands their role of governance, understands what administration does, and lead the city in the way that brings out the best of everyone. Thank you.
Hello everybody, thanks for coming out tonight. My name is Chad Bachynski, and first and foremost, because everybody's been asking me, I'm 38 years old, so let's get that out of the way. I've lived here for nearly 25 years. I live here with my wife, raising our two young kids in the city here, and I'm running for mayor because I'm frustrated. I'm extremely frustrated. I'm frustrated with our ever-increasing property taxes. I'm frustrated with the ever ongoing construction projects. I'm frustrated with the diminishing sense of security and safety in our communities. So what I'm bringing is my experience, which is more than a decade in project management, construction management, critical infrastructure, all these pieces that come together to really work on the foundations of a city. And that's what I'm here to do. So with that, I'm going to bring that to City Hall. We're going to start improving what we're doing. We're going to improve decisions that we make and base them in the foundations of affordability and safety. That's going to be the foundation of every decision that we make. We're going to rally council around a cohesive vision that considers that for every decision. So for me, it's bringing that experience to council. It's that leadership, leading diverse teams for critical infrastructure, focusing on our core infrastructure. It's not that we're not going to build new things that attract people to the city. It's not this or that. It's this, then that. So that's what we're going to focus on. So thank you, Chad Bachynski. I'm running for mayor. Thank you very much.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Lori Bresciani, and I want to say just thank you to everyone to coming out tonight. And thank you to the organizers. You know, I've lived in Regina for 45 years. And I grew up in a rural community and had to move into town as my father was sick. And it was at that time that I knew, growing up in a small community, what community means. And, you know, when I was elected, you know, again, I've been a business owner, I worked in government, had worn many different hats. And that's given me kind of the experience, but the passion to move our city forward. But I also know that, you know, when I was elected in 2016, I was frustrated. That's why I ran. I didn't even know what a councillor did. But I knew that if I just stood back and did nothing, nothing would change. So I was elected in 2016, and I was acclaimed in 2020. And, one of the things that I ran on, and they're still true today to my platform, is being prudent with the tax dollar, but also engagement with the community. Every year when I was elected, the spring and fall, I held 2 to 3 community meetings at different times of the year as well to engage my community, because I feel engagement is imperative to moving a city forward. Not everybody's working, everybody's busy, and it gave me an opportunity to ask the questions, what do you think of this? And hear the feedback. The biggest job, and one of the biggest jobs as a mayor and a councillor, is to listen and hear what people are saying in our community. So, one of the things that I would tell you, the reason I'm running, and many would say, you've been on council 8 years, why would you want to run, da-da-da-da, what are you going to do different? Because I'm frustrated. I want to see things different. And I think that's something that, to me, is it would have been very easy to say, yeah, I'm just frustrated and walk away. So there's things that I think are really important, and that's core services, getting back to the core services. Okay. I like to talk, sorry.
Hey everyone, I'm Tony Kardash. I'm 30 years old and I'm the president of my Regina 35 Lions Club. Why I'm running for mayor is to make a difference. I have been born and raised in Saskatchewan, grew up in a small town. I've worked in various industries. But what I believe is what makes this city whole is our rich history, our culture, and the people who are in it. Because our city is a family. We have to look after our family, and that's what I want to do. I want to keep property taxes lower, make sure infrastructures are met in the right timeline, have a better carbon emission by 2050, and better access for younger generations and for seniors, better for the aquatic centers, get more after-school programs for kids, and have more boost in our tourism to bring back concerts, bring back what it used to be. Because now our city is kind of broken, to be honest. What makes to fix it again is to work with our city councilors, to work with every organization we can to make services available for everyone. And that's what would make this city whole again. Vote for me November 13th, and let's make Regina great again like it used to be. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the invite to this forum. I'll keep my paper, keep me on track here. My name is Bevan Fox. I'm a member of Paspa Nation, originally from Pipot Nation. I raised 3 children in this neighborhood. They all grew up and then flew the nest and left me. So then I moved after. But I always truly miss this area. It's rich with culture and it's vibrant with beauty and so many things. When I'm driving down the street, I'm always trying to look at the new businesses or all the coffee shops. And so anyway, I'd like to say that tonight, I wanted to tell you just a little bit about myself briefly. I'm a proud grandmother of 5, ages 24, 20, 17, and 11. The youngest is 3-year-old. He keeps me really busy. Tonight, I won't make promises nor to fix things immediately, nor reinvent what already has been done by the previous council. There's plans already in place. However, I will listen and advocate to continue and do more for the city. There's always a way to find best solutions when people work together, collaboratively and in partnership, even when plans or policies are already developed. There's always ways to work within policies to create more solutions. I work in programs leading teams to prevent families from harm and safety, to create prevention awareness and solutions to provide supports for families' well-being and safety. I look forward to hearing from you and answering your questions, and thank you.
Hi, my name is Sandra, and I'm running for mayor. Hi, Sean's mom. You know, you can catch me on the media or Paul DeShane's Twitter feed. So I think I just want to talk about you, about Cathedral, about the importance of this neighborhood and neighborhoods like it around the city, and the things that the last 4 years we've looked to address, whether that's Vision Zero to lower speed limits in residential neighborhoods and making sure that pedestrians crossing your business zone are safe, whether that's Holy Rosary Park space that's attached to the school. I know there was some concern. Separate school board reached out and I helped advocate to make sure that it can stay as park space, because we know that you don't have a lot of green space within community. We know that you're exceptionally tied to our downtown and in some respects are an extension. So some of that spillover of crime and safety issues, we've expanded the Regina Street team, the Regina Clean team to assist you here. Councillor Stevens brilliantly sent his students as he's looking at a business improvement district, potentially a cathedral bid, which if businesses are supportive, I'm happy to support. I think that you make the city better block by block. And yes, construction is frustrating, but that's how you deal with an infrastructure deficit. We deserve to have a city that we're proud of, and I just want to say that as it relates to the Cathedral Village Community Association and the Cathedral Village Festival, it is something that, as mayor, I'm incredibly proud of. It is something that is known province-wide, and even from folks across the country. You have a unique and beautiful neighborhood here. We need to continue to support that. That's 20 seconds? Look at me go. We have hired more police officers, alternate response officers, to help deal with some of the elements around, frankly, drug addiction. We continue to advocate for housing, for shelter space, for warming space, affordable housing units, supportive housing units. That's it. Thank you.
All right, and now we'll move on to our first question. Question 1, regarding lead service connections. Cathedral is among the most lead service connections in the city. While Saskatoon is committed to replacing their lead service connections by 2029, Regina's plan replaces lead connections over another 12 years by 2036 at a cost of $36 million. How do you respond to Cathedral residents' concerns that Regina is moving too slow to replace lead pipes? You'll have 1 minute to respond.
Testing. Okay, here we go. When I was given this question, it actually quite shocked me quite well. Like 12 more years it's going to take. What I would do to help Cathedral out is I'd get this done. It has to get done within a reasonable amount of time. Within the next 5 years, it'd have to be done. You'd have to take money from other projects, probably from the road budget or somewhere like that to get done. Because if they say it costs $36 million now, could you imagine how much it's going to cost 12 years from now? It's going to be way more than $36 million, so don't let it wait. And plus, we have the health of the elder, the health of the children, the health of everybody else that's in this community. That's unacceptable to have these health risks in this community and for them to know about it, council, and to do nothing about it for 12 years and say it's only going to cost 36. No. If I was going to do it, I'd take the budget out of the road budget or something like that, $6 million, and get it done right away if I could. Thank you.
Is that at 10 or 20? Is your warning at 10 or 20?
It's a 20.
20?
Yeah, it's going to keep it the same way.
Okay, sounds good. You may want to take out your yellow highlighter for what I'm about to say, because what I'm about to say needs to be underscored. This is a health issue. It's not an infrastructure issue. And, it's almost like, there's a movie theater. There's 2 shows playing. One says Inconvenient Truth. One says Pacifying Illusion. Most people will go to the Pacifying Illusion because it's easy, it takes the urgency off, and we can sleep at night. We feel better that we're doing something, but we're delaying it. Our city leadership has chosen the Pacifying Illusion. They've chosen to ignore the inconvenient truth that lead pipes are a serious health issue. We had a chance to accelerate the plan to make it faster. 5 people said no, 2 are in the room tonight. We had a chance to improve the bottled water program for our citizens. 5 said no, two are in the room tonight. As mayor, I will commit to bring this topic front and center to see what we can do to accelerate the process, to remove the lead pipes, and improve the water support. Thank you.
As someone who's extremely familiar with underground infrastructure and underground pipes, absolutely we can accelerate. And this is a process problem. We can throw as much money and resources as we can at this. There's the tactical requirement of outage planning, mobilization to actual effort. That being said, we can do this faster, and we have to. It is a public safety issue, and we have to look at this and prioritize it. So the way that I look at it is by putting in place a proper intake process, a proper risk matrix, and we actually look at this as a public safety issue. We can prioritize and accelerate this program. How much? That's tough to say. I mean, without being in the shoes of the folks that have been there already, we don't see that. But getting in there, that should be one of the top priorities, and will be one of my top priorities as part of my plan to invest in actual core infrastructure for the city.
Thank you very much. Being on council, we ask these questions, and one of them is how many more roads can we do in a year? And administration had said at the time that, in the short time period, you can only do so many roads in a year to have a whole neighborhood of Cathedral dug up at once. So one of the things that we ask for is an actual plan to say, okay, how many roads can we do, or streets can be done, plus doing the lead connections, which another was kind of that efficiency trying to find the plan. But I totally agree. I think it absolutely has to be a priority. I know they were going to bring a report back in 4 years, and we said we want it back in 2. So for me, this will be a priority that we will look at. So there you go. Thank you.
I think that everybody deserves clean drinking water. As your mayor, I'd make sure that we put the right dollars to fix in the right areas where the lead pipes are, like in downtown and Cathedral area, because nobody shouldn't have to go without clean drinking water or without anything. I know costs of things now, like with infrastructure bills, because they go up by every year. They go up a few $1 million here, a few $1 million in 5 years. We have to address the issue now. We can't wait 4 years or 3 years or 2 years. We have to start it in a timely fashion. Thank you.
Definitely, this is a serious health issue for families. It affects their entire well-being, and including children unborn. Certainly, I would advocate on how to find more funding to speed up the plan already in place. In the meantime, what to do now? Provide awareness, prevention, to prevent this harm from happening. After speaking with people, there was a couple of ideas that I have is use SAS Polytech and SAS Apprenticeship to do the work faster. A city-run crew working full-time could speed up the plan significantly. Perhaps in partnership with SAS Apprentice in Trades. That was one of them. I did receive from the group the information on the suggestions. Let's speed up the removal and provide families with clean water dispensers. I know that's already in the plan City of Regina has. And definitely advocate direct federal infrastructure dollars toward this urgent health risk. That's what I would do. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think, to build upon a little bit of what Councillor Bresciani had to say is that I can't agree to a utility rate increase that is 5 times what we agreed to increase it for the lead pipe replacement for all utility rate payers. That approaches a place that is unacceptable, which is why I was more than supportive of the filter program, the rebate program for when it's bought privately, the mandatory replacement of private lines, as well as the accessible funding program for homeowners to spread it out over 5 and 10 years. We mandatory do 100 tests a year. We will come out and do free testing in home. We want to make sure that there is safe drinking water. We're investigating corrosion, contamination, chemicals, orthophosphate, for when Buffalo Pound water treatment is done. But fundamentally, 71 kilometers of roadway with lead service underneath them, not currently in the road plan, so that's a lot of construction.
All right, on to question 2 regarding housing and zoning. The prior city council has recently passed extensive zoning changes as part of their application to the Housing Accelerator Fund. As a result, a considerable portion of Cathedral has been declared a secondary intensification zone where multifamily homes up to 4 stories will be able to be built by right. What will you do as mayor to prepare Regina for increased density across the city, particularly in secondary and primary intensification zones?
Oh, okay. What I would do, I was looking at this question, I was giving it a lot of thought. The first thing I would do, I'm a little biased because I'm First Nations, but what I would like to do is, first of all, give the First Nation people around the communities, the developers and that, give them the first chance to see if they can build in these areas first, because I do firmly believe that if First Nations developers have the best chance, first chance at the best lots and things to build like that, then that will revive the community and give the community and the people that live here a sense of value. Also, it'll give the people of Regina and the First Nations companies that are building it a sense of value, which this city really needs to connect with the First Nations people. In order for the city to be successful, we need to partner with the First Nations people, or else success will not happen for this city. This is what I would look at first, is the First Nations basis. Thank you.
It's like we have this shared community tree for our city. And the tree, we know the tree needs to grow more branches to provide more shade for more people. We understand it. The thing is, we all don't want the branch coming over our home. And that's the rub. That's the problem that we have right now. Moving forward, how we deal with this, I'm not sure if we may be too far down the road to send that $35 million back like Oakville did. I'm not sure if we can do that. What I can say when we have decisions like that, as your mayor, I would lead council in a way that we would not be desperate to take the $35 million without considering how do we do that ourselves? How could we find that's less than we plan to spend on the lead pipe replacement. You think of all the pet projects that we're having that take us up to nearly $1 billion. We can find those answers in-house before we become beholden to a grant that puts us in a corner that upsets our communities and does not do what's best for our communities in our city for our future. Thank you.
Regina is growing, so there's 2 things that come to mind when we talk about intensification and densification. One is not losing the charm of our communities, what brings people to certain communities like Cathedral. So looking at ways that we can try and do that intensification in a way that still preserves a lot of the things that people look for in individual communities. The core part of it is making sure that the infrastructure supports it. So the roads going in and out, like we start to add people, we have to worry about that. We have to think about that. We can't just add people. And I've seen that time and time again in the city where we keep building up and out and out. And the further you get away from that center core, that's why our property taxes are skyrocketing. We're exponentially increasing the need for that infrastructure outwards. More kilometers of roads, more kilometers of pipe, that means higher costs for everybody. So we have to be mindful of that.
Thank you very much. So, when we talk about increased density and intensification, I don't think there's a neighborhood that really wants more density or intensification. I think sometimes people, but I think sometimes people are a bit worried of the height and all of that, kind of how it's going to change the neighborhood. But one of the things that we know that as we're growing as a community, we're growing as a city, that why the density is important. And I think that goes back to, communicating to the community of why the density is important and how we can grow together. The only one thing that I want to tell you about density is we also need to ensure that we have those amenities for the density, have the infrastructure to meet that density for the growing community. Thank you.
Like, I think why we need to have more density and that, is why we have to make sure we have the plans in place before we start to build. And I want to make sure if we start to build out more areas and have the jobs more local, hire developers in Saskatchewan and keep jobs in Saskatchewan based. Because every time we see outsourced Alberta, Manitoba, BC license plates to build in developers, well, it just doesn't make sense. I, as mayor, make sure to have the right plans in place and make sure the dollars are there before we start to build or expand anything, so it keeps the taxes lower instead of going higher. Thank you.
What will I do as mayor prepare for Regina for increased density is make the developers who are looking to add multi-story units to contribute to enhancing the neighborhood. They'll be there anyway with the right equipment, so it'd be like an investment. And of course there's benefits, and already there is the housing accelerator fund. And I was searching at that and found that there's the intensification incentive policy. So I just wanted to talk about that. That's in place, but of course could, be developed and discussed more further. Thank you.
How do we support communities? Part of it is infrastructure. It's upsizing the pipes as we continue to do the work, but we've started to do coordinated infrastructure planning to allow for when we're going in to do a road and do pipe replacement or realigning, that we're creating space for bike lanes. The amenities like park space, and we know you have Bunny Balkwell with the Westerman Park, but really it's about that centrally located park space of Holy Rosary, a pool and other amenities being located within walking distance or a quick drive. But density supports transit and it supports businesses. It allows folks to come into a neighborhood with access into schools and community associations that already exist in a market where it's really difficult for young people to get into single family homes right now. Thank you.
All right, I guess we'll move on to audience questions. Can I have a volunteer come bring the forms up?
Are we reading these?
You can come over here if you want to read.
Okay, so the first question is about spending. Currently, there's lots of projects being considered and the cost is very heavy. Do you have a plan to prioritize these projects? And what would be a priority for you in reference to the aquatic center, library, homeless shelter, and other topics?
Okay, what I would do about this is, like I said, it's all about trying to find income for the city. What I would do first of all is, I know the Lawson is a big, it's huge in this community. It's been here for a long time. It's been here as long as I can remember in this area. What I would propose is to fix up the Lawson for now, take some of that money that they have to put towards lead pipes, of course, in this area, opposed to worrying about the bigger projects in this area right now. Let's worry about people's health and safety. And then I would generate income. And once I have income generating for the city through partnerships with First Nations, then I would look at starting to build these other facilities where the tax base would not have to pay for this. Because I believe the city should be prosperous in all their stuff that they do and have all these facilities that they want, but it should not be at the taxpayer's expense. The city has to be more thinking outside the box with ways to make income, and that's what I'm going to do, is think outside the box and generate income for this city. Thank you.
Infrastructure and these large projects, they're needed for a city to be vibrant into the future. We know that we have to do it. The challenge is we can't do it all at once, and that's what feels like is happening right now. It's coming at us all at once, and all of a sudden we have nearly a debt ceiling of nearly $1 billion, and it's like just because we have that, it seems like we're giving ourselves permission to move ahead. As mayor, I want to pump the brakes. I want to slow down and actually develop. To the question, what is the priority list? If you so somebody said earlier tonight, said what are yours? I'm okay with the aquatic center moving forward, and then we start to look at the others. In terms of the issue around homelessness, I'll draw on my experience as a CEO of an organization who ran homeless shelters and halfway houses to resolve that problem in a way that works for our community. Thank you very much.
So this goes to what I mentioned earlier, creating a framework of intake for these massive projects and putting them toe-to-toe against our actual core infrastructure. It's not about this or that, it's about this, then that. It's putting things in a prioritized order, and I have experience in setting up strategic plans, and we need to take that to a council level. So when things are brought forward from administration, both from a capital projects, like these big aquatic centers, shelters, everything, those all need to be prioritized against operational needs and core infrastructure. So that's what I'll bring forward to council, is a strategic framework that we actually have a consistent vision of how we approve these projects.
Check. Thank you. Mine is also about a plan. I think one of the most frustrating things is, we approved an aquatic center, didn't know the cost. Last year got the cost $160 million. In August now it's $245 million, plus another $27 million for geothermal. We're at $272 million. Same cost as the stadium. Library is also on the books. We can't afford it all. I'd love to say yes to everything, but guys, we can't. We have other needs in our city, which you all are aware of. So I did bring forth a reconsideration motion. They could look at renovating the Lawson. We could look at some other funding, but I always say we have to live within our means, and right now, currently, we are not. Thank you.
Like, everything does come with a cost, and we all know that. I want to make sure that our taxpayers' dollars go towards what it needs. Like the homeless shelters, yes, that is a big priority in this city. And make sure, like the aquatic center, we can refurbish Lawson and rebuild it. And make it a bigger place, instead of spending $280 million on a project that shouldn't be even think of. As mayor, I'm going to make sure that infrastructure projects that need to be prioritized, that get on the agenda, and make sure that it gets done in a priority. Thank you.
For all the projects that are priority, but the area here in Cathedral is a priority for me, for clean water. And there are projects already, invested into. And why stop those, and throw that money away, right? Like, I just would like to continue on with some of the projects. And also the homelessness is growing still. No matter what's been done in place, it continues to grow. And the drugs out there are taking our young people. We need special resources because they're different from 10 years ago. Fentanyl and crystal meth is really, really horrific drugs, and they're killing our people. So I see that epidemic growing here in our city. And I definitely need to look into that. Thank you.
Thank you. In terms of the order of things, I think a 15-year-old project probably takes priority for me as it relates to the pool. And with due respect, it was identified in 2009, and had it been planned for and actually been dealt with at the time, we could have saved $83 million of taxpayer money. Pools, parks, recreational space are part of our core services, our core infrastructure. They're what make a city livable, fun, vibrant, allows our children to swim, to do all of these things. The library, I just want to clear up a misconception, we have committed to a debt set aside simply so that they can go investigate revitalization, renewal, replacement, whatever it is. That's the commitment, but that planning needs to be performed, or in another situation, maybe it's an extra $80 million for that. And then what position are we in? In terms of shelter space, I will continue advocating. We have helped fund and find 80 new shelter spaces in the last 4 years, warming spaces, warming buses. I'm going to continue advocating for that, for more treatment space, for more mental health and addiction work.
If elected or re-elected, will you support changing the name of Dewdney Avenue, and why or why not?
Well, to me, Dewdney's been a staple in our community for as long as I can remember, as long as I lived here. And personally, I would keep the name the same that it is. It's always been that way. It's not about changing the name of a place in order to make it seem better or revitalize an area. It's about revitalizing the area and making the environment better. Changing the name of a street is not going to make it any better or make it any more vibrant. It's up to us to change it and make the environment better, so therefore the name can stay the great name that it always has been since day one that it was put in the city. That's what I would do. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. I would suggest that I would want to understand exactly where people are on the issue, because I didn't hear all the delegations. In theory, I do support the name change. Is it something that's going to happen today? I don't know. But I am supportive of it, and I think it matters to our community, it matters to our history, and it matters to the people that have been advocating for that. And it seems like it makes sense. How we pay for it, that's the next question that needs to be investigated. How do we find the money to pay for some of these changes that need to happen? Bottom line, I am in support of it, and I will do what I can to move it forward whenever that timetable is. Thank you.
In terms of duty, yeah, there's a proven huge cost to that. However, there is something we can do. We can add to it. We can add to the history and understand the history. We do things like add the Green Mile to a street. Why can't we add an additional name to Dewdney to educate people and inform people? And to Bill's point, understand where is the issue stemming from really, and make sure that we're addressing the issue that we're really hearing in a meaningful way.
Thank you very much. This is something that did come to council, and I could not support it, and I'll tell you why. I have many Indigenous friends as well, and one of the things we talk about is, how do we move forward together? Truth and reconciliation, we talk about how we move together. One of the things was, do we learn by tearing things down, our history down, or do we actually walk together? And so that was kind of the reason that I supported that we, move forward. Rather than kind of tearing the infrastructure down, we work together and understanding the history, but moving forward and telling that story as we work together. Thank you.
I think we should keep the name Dewdney because it's a symbol and a staple of our city. We can change names. Like I would love to do is rename our Regina bypass and give it a name, an Indigenous name. We can work with the Ministry of Highways to change a name or even name a new street when a new area or development becomes along, and educate people on truth and reconciliation and Indigenous cultures, because every city, every province has culture and diversity, and I love to work with all cultures and all races alike, because that's what makes our city, is all cultures and everything. Thank you.
I am one of the children that made it home from the residential schools, and I would definitely, I'll go off. And I would definitely look for a long-term plan on how to change the name. I would work with the groups that were involved. So that's what it, because recognizing that we are on Treaty 4 land right now, this is Treaty 4 territory that we are all on, and these are our ancestors' lands. So changing the name would really, it would take a plan, of course, a long-term plan. It wouldn't happen overnight. So thank you.
I think that in all of the conversations and in my relationships that I have developed within community, I can't see a clear line of sight on this one. And I worry deeply about things that create divisiveness versus bringing folks together. And speaking with the Elders Advisory Committee to Council, a little bit along that line, which is we should go to community. We should find out how folks are feeling about that name change. And if there are competing interests, and there always are, what would be preferable? The name overlay has already been talked about. We have North Central revitalization as well as it relates to Dewdney Avenue. And through that work, I'm thinking we can find a pathway forward. Thank you.
Okay. I'm just going to ask the audience real quick just to keep the cheers to the end, just to ensure that candidates get the full time to speak. Just as, I get that you guys are excited, but, they only have a minute, so.
What will you do to support creating a city that is net zero? Will you commit to more bike lanes, better transit, or work to have fewer vehicles on our roads?
What I would do to take this initiative is we can't really make less vehicles on roads. It's not our decision on who can drive and who can't drive. But what I would do is I'd look into more buses, smaller buses that are electric, possibly or hybrids is the way that a lot of people are going now with gas engines that power the batteries. They last better, they're longer, they're more energy efficient, they're better for the environment in the long run. They do cost a little bit more, but from my understanding and research that I've done, they are a better option. So that's what I'd look into for the net zero. And for the net zero plan, I'm all for it, but it's about generating the income first in order to get this net zero plan first without the taxpayer having to pay for it. That's my big initiative about this all. Wonderful plans, but we just need to find the income to get there. Thank you.
The City of Regina has a plan that takes us to net zero by 2050. I am supportive of that plan, and as mayor, when I come in, one of the first things I would do is help council understand what is this plan, because we're coming and we're joining what we say a program already in progress. We have a community master plan. We have lots of plans that take us way into the future that go beyond some of our day-to-day activities that we see or that we talk about as councilors or as mayor. I am fully supportive of it, and I would like to do as mayor ensure that we as council and mayors have the opportunity to support that. And in terms of I'll just stop there. But maybe if there's a question, maybe you could write that down, Dylan, and we'll have it come to the front. Thank you very much. But to reiterate, I am fully supportive of our plan for 2050.
Yeah, we do have a plan. Are we executing on it? Kind of. So we need to do more, but it needs to be strategic. The good news is that we actually have an opportunity to incorporate those into policies, bylaws, things that we do every day in terms of building homes, building businesses, how businesses operate. So we can do these things, and I think we need to continue to do these things. So I'm fully supportive of the plan as well. We need to move forward on that initiative, and I think it's going to actually become easier as time goes on because it is job creating. Everything points towards an economic benefit to achieving net zero.
Thank you very much. So, yes, we do have a plan, and I think one of the biggest things is, we have a plan, but are we fully utilizing it? Does everybody, in the city, or even the community or developers, when they're looking at going to building houses, are we actually putting things in place to say, listen, the portion of the bill has to be net zero or whatever that is? So I think that we have to, again, have a plan within the city to make sure that, we understand what those pieces are, even as we're building our own infrastructure. We've got, we've got some electric buses planned as well, but we know obviously we can do more. But as we plan, and again, I think it comes down to also being financially accountable for all of that as well. Thank you.
And I want to make sure, like, our net zero plan, that it doesn't cost the taxpayers a lot of money. I'm going to work with the provincial and federal governments to have them flip the bill, make sure we have greener buses, better LED lightings, better pretty much everything that makes it a green initiative. Use of compost facilities, like some cities even have, they burn and generate power to run a small city. And we could look into projects like that, but we just make sure that the cost is within means, that it's not going to cost the taxpayers a lot of money. And I'm going to make it a priority. Thank you.
I fully support the net zero plan. Actually, I felt really happy that I got myself a hybrid vehicle, adding my responsibility to this. But definitely I would fully support the plan. Thank you.
I apologize, John. Could you reread the question again, please?
What would you do to make the city net zero? What would you do to increase transit and bike lanes and other initiatives to reduce the cars on the roads?
Thanks for the question. I think in terms of bike lanes, the integrated planning that we have started to undertake are incorporating bike lanes into our streets. Now, as we're doing the planning work as opposed to trying to add them afterwards, I think we've added about 8 kilometers of new bike lanes and about 24 new kilometers of sidewalks and multimodal pathways. So clearly committed to making sure that folks have alternate ways to get around the city and to enjoy the city. From a net zero perspective, I'm a big proponent of the geothermal in terms of a 95% reduction in GHG compared to natural gas. I think the investment over the long term is intended to save us upwards of $16 million over the life of that pool over 50 years. That's the type of investment that's worthwhile long term. We have a waste to energy program that we could expand at the landfill. We currently capture enough methane to power 1,000 homes in the city of Regina. We can continue expanding that. And the retrofits we're building, we've made a commitment to LEED certified and net zero new builds, but also in terms of retrofits, adding solar panels in to a number of our facilities over the last 4 years. So thank you.
Hello. Just a reminder to the audience, you can continue to submit questions throughout the event. So if you do have questions, feel free to grab a slip and fill one out and hand it to one of our volunteers.
Renee's over there.
Yeah, back there, Renee's got him. He's got his hand up. He'll take him.
So what is your opinion about keeping a public library downtown? What option do you prefer in terms of rebuilding, relocating, a brand new library, or something else?
I'm in favor of, if we do need a new library, let's get a new library. But then again, I'm always like, it's all about the income, and I want all these projects to happen. I'm in favor of a lot of these projects, but not at the taxpayer's expense. It's all about cooperations with the First Nations to get a better economy in the city so we can have it. And I think the library in the downtown area is a good area for it, for our main library. It's been there for how many years? All the buses go by it. It's by the park. Everyone knows where it is, and it's been a staple in our community for how many years? If anything, build a second library somewhere else that's newer and bigger in one of these new areas that are popping up. That's what I would do. Thank you.
Certainly, I would want to understand all the issues that go behind this decision, because this has been going on for many years, and I want to get caught up in the program as to what's been happening. I'll tell you right now, my personal preference, and I have to be careful because I don't want to sway council too much, but my personal preference, I would like to see us explore revitalizing the location where it already is. Protect that frontage, the architecture that's there already. There's a very large lot right beside, well, attached to the library, owned by the library. Could it work? And I don't know the answer today. I honestly don't. I would like to pursue that and understand it better. And right now, my preference is to see us renovate where we are, keep the integrity of the building, and expand on the space and make it what it needs to be to get us in there for another 50 years. Thank you.
In terms of a new library, first we will put this into our project prioritization framework that we will have, and then we'll vet that against every other project that we have going on. Do I think that we need a library downtown? Absolutely. I think we need a lot of things downtown. I think downtown needs to be revitalized, and we need to densify our downtown to actually grow like every other city that's a mid-sized city trying to grow and increase that tax base, reduce the impact on our core infrastructure in dense areas, so that way that sprawl can continue to grow without the dramatic increase in property taxes that we've seen. So absolutely, I think we need those services. I have young kids. We use the library all the time. It's a fantastic place. I think library is actually a tricky word these days because it's not just a library. It's not just books. It's a community center. It has spaces for everybody. And I think that's important for our community, and I think we need to keep that alive.
Thank you very much. So, yeah, the library, again, I think that they're even looking at, do we stay? It's a heritage site. Do we stay? Or do we look at options and go into other spaces? And one is maybe looking at the bay. You know, I always say that, you know what, they can come up with, they've sent out RFPs and they can look to see where they would like to go. But I actually think that they're in a beautiful space right now. It is modern architecture. It looks beautiful. If there was a way to renovate that, to increase it in size, but if they have outsized it like they've said, maybe there is a little portion that they could take in the bay. So then again, at least there's a piece of it as well downtown, closest to, we know the one in the Southland works great, being close to the mall. So maybe there's two pieces to that. But I think all of those options should be weighed. But again, I think renovation there rather than moving into a whole new location or whatever they're thinking, I think it's best to stay there to look at that location. Thank you.
I think we should keep the library where it is because it's a symbol of our city and it's a historical landmark. If you get rid of historical landmarks, then it's gone. It's gone forever. We could revitalize it and expand the space if needed. And we just work it in like any other project, and it won't take a lot of time, but it could maybe a few years once we have the budget in place, the revenue and the capital to build it, and make that one of a project in time for the future. Thank you.
Could you repeat that question?
What is your opinion about keeping a public library downtown? What option do you prefer? Rebuild, relocate, brand new library, or something else?
I was at the library today, and I think the library is beautiful. I would keep it the way it is, and even, renovate it. And today I saw many of our people, different people, all cultures, diversities were in that library today, and it's usable, right? It's doable and it's working for our families, and there was even children there today. So I really would like to keep the library. Thank you.
The main branch of our library absolutely has to be located downtown. It is part of the downtown revitalization plan, and I can't find someone downtown who doesn't support it being there. In terms of renovate, expand, replace, renew, joint venture, do something else, go into other existing infrastructure, I think that's what we're waiting to see. What those requests for proposals come back, someone comes back in terms of how to modernize the guts of that library as it relates to its water heat, its boiler, its roof, and expand that space. That may be one of the options. There's also the option of requests for proposals coming in that imagine something a little bit different, perhaps on a bare piece of land that's currently a parking lot. That would be a great building site for a combination of library on multiple floors and perhaps residences above, where we could start to densify in our downtown and create a project that motivates others to build residential downtown as well. Thank you.
What is your plan to resolve our affordable housing crisis that is affecting citizens of Regina who are in dire need of safe, healthy wraparound services on a daily basis?
Wraparound services. Wow, that was a good question. It stumped me a little bit with the wraparound services. I believe in them. I think they're good. I think our community needs to engage, and especially when it comes to affordable housing in this area, we need to take a different initiative on how we look at things. Look at other bigger cities. They have smaller modular homes that can be built, like in terms of aluminum houses and things like that are constructed with more glass walls on them. There's numerous other ways that we can make housing affordable for younger people. They don't have to be these big lavish houses that we were used to living in. They can be smaller, more houses like 800-900 square feet where people can have their own yards and have a sense of they own a piece of the city. And then that way they'll be happier to live here. They'll have more respect for the city, and I believe everything will just work out better in that way. Thank you.
I heard I think there's a couple questions in that question. There's one that might be more related to homelessness, and then there's the affordable housing. I'll start with homelessness. You talk about wraparound services. Using my experience of leading an organization who ran homeless shelters, halfway houses, I understand how to solve these problems. It doesn't make me an expert. I'm comfortable in the space, and I would like to see our city tap into what's happening in other cities to bring those solutions here, because this is not an unusual problem. It's common. Other people have had solutions. We need to start trying those. And the concept of meeting a person where they are, and in terms of housing, if you're experiencing homelessness, the sooner you can get out of that shelter into another place, the better it is. It increases the likelihood of ending the cycle of homelessness. We can do that by working with Sask Housing and shifting how we look at our model of how we approach this problem. So drawing on my experience in that field, I would like to bring those solutions to the City of Regina. Thank you.
So first and foremost, we need to have a plan of where we're going to put affordable housing. Taylor Field, I think that was a plan. The old Taylor Field was supposed to be affordable housing years ago. That really hasn't gone anywhere. To the point of Sean there are more creative solutions and options for affordable housing. There's buildings that are common area houses with individual units. There's more creative solutions that we need to look at in terms of zoning and providing opportunity to build these affordable units. In terms of wraparound services, I believe we need to do a better job of advocating for those services and getting them coordinated so accessing those services is easier. If you're on foot in -40 trying to find where you need to go for what service, that's impossible. That's a dangerous situation for somebody. We need to do a better job of helping people navigate the complex services that they need.
Thank you very much. So, I think it does come down with the plan, and I think we have to figure out, okay, where do we actually want to have, looking at the homelessness crisis and all there, looking at the locations is key. And planning the supports that go around, the wraparound supports that those individuals will need. Again, that is a priority. But what I'm going to say is, we also have to advocate to all the other levels of government and all come to the table. If we could have, a multi-level intergovernmental committee where they actually, see what we are going through here within our homelessness and our addiction and our mental health. I think that is critical, and I think, working together to find those solutions, I think would be, having everybody at the table would be great. Thank you.
And I think everybody deserves to have a home. Nobody should not be homeless in the city. I think we could find the right space, for example, like the old Sears building on Broad. We could turn that into a big level bed facility where they have rapid access to counselors, to a doctor, and the resources and a place where they can gather up life skills and get them back on their feet, because nobody should deserve to be out in the cold in -40 or freezing to death on the street. At least they have the access to get to Rapid for counseling and for get the right help they need. Thank you.
it is a double crisis out there: homelessness, affordable housing, and along with the drug issue. Together, I see both homelessness connected to the drug issue right now. And if we did have more solutions, like to the wraparound programs on how to address that, a lot of our young people are usually turned away when they want help. There's not enough support for them. They don't have a home to go to. They're homeless, and they can't afford housing because they're not working. They need that support, the older and our youth. So definitely a plan for this. Thank you.
Hi, thanks for the question. In terms of advocating for federal and provincial dollars, we're on that and continually feeding information back into the provincial and federal governments, which is why we've gotten funding every year, and again this fall, for everything from a hot weather strategy to a cold weather strategy to ensure that folks aren't out in the cold. As you know, the City of Regina helps to fund the Ritzis shelter and help find location for the YWA Women and Children's Shelter. There are a lot of incredible community-based organizations that do this work in collaboration with each other at hub tables with social services, with healthcare, with mental health and addictions. Our job is to collect the data and support the things where there are gaps and feed that back with the Regina Street Team, alternate response officers, to actually step up to the table and help fund some of these projects, because I can tell you that both the federal and provincial government respond really well when we come to the table willing to invest as well.
A reoccurring theme among the majority of candidates is that they will somehow lower taxes, but somehow improve services through finding efficiencies. This is something that's campaigned on each election. What are your thoughts about this type of campaign promise? Is it realistic?
Oh, I was ready to go. 100% this is doable. 100% we can lower the taxes for the tax base. 100%. And that's what my whole agenda is. That's what it's all about. And why we have to partner with First Nations in order to accomplish this goal? Because the government has a duty to help the First Nations people of this country. There's honor of the Crown, that they have to provide services for us. They have a duty to provide health care for us. And that's why they have a duty to provide homeless shelters for us, like Sandra was saying. There's all this stuff that the government is responsible to the First Nations people for. And they're not utilizing in the right areas. Like, utilizing on the reserve, great. But if we separate the land or give them the land or work in partnership with them with the land, we can access more money and services from the federal and the provincial government that will help keep our tax base lower for the people. Thank you.
So where I come in on this issue is that I really think it's important for the mayor and the council to do everything they can to ensure that we're spending, the revenue that we receive from citizens of the city in a really responsible manner. When we do things at the city that seem to see, like, wait a minute, where did that come? Why are we spending, $90,000 on a report to investigate some kind of misstep at another organization? Why are we spending money like that? I'm not going to commit to saying we can do this X% efficiency. What I can say, though, is that when we improve the decision-making process at council level, we'll have a much better opportunity to make informed decisions with good engagement, proper engagement with the city of Regina, or probably the residents of Regina, so that we can make the decisions that we don't all of a sudden end up in the spot, well, this is going up because of this project's going to go up here, our utility rates are going up because of this, our garbage rate is going up because of this. It's just this piece by piece by piece. We need to tighten up and get organized and do what's right for the city. Thank you.
We cannot lower taxes. Sorry, we can't. We can't lower taxes. We have a $1 billion infrastructure deficit. We need to invest in that to keep our city running. That's the reality. What we can do is plan better, prioritize better, and spend better to keep the dramatic increases that we've all felt under control. That's what I have committed to, is that we're going to stop the dramatic increase in property taxes. We're going to make it more predictable so it's more affordable for people.
Thank you very much. So, absolutely agree. You'll never see a zero, I'll say that. We've learned in history when you've got zeros, all it does is push it back in the millions. And that's why we're trying to catch up now. And it's unfortunate, but that is the absolute truth. If you put nothing into your home for years and years and years on end, you know what happens? Catches up. And all of a sudden, guess what? You have to catch up somehow. And so I think, again, I would run this exactly as my business or my home. You want to be efficient with your spending, 100%. And you want to get the best bang for your dollar. But I'll tell you, going with the zero, when you see everything else increasing, is just, it's a dissatisfaction to all of the residents as well. It wouldn't be fair. Thank you.
I think that, yes, taxes are the big problem sometimes. But we have to make sure that to lower down a deficit, you have to make sure that the dollars are going in the right places and no overspending on big projects. It'll take time to bring down the debt, but if we keep taxes at a minimum percentage, that it doesn't cost the homeowners money and it doesn't cost the taxpayers any money, to make sure that the dollars stay and in proper investments, and it will potentially lower taxes. Thank you.
Lower taxes, is that realistic? I can't promise you that, of course. I can't promise that as your mayor. Today I met with a business group. Actually, I attended their forum at the library, and I asked them at the end, for questions, if there's one thing that you could change in Regina, City of Regina, what would that be? And the one businessman said, his taxes are rising higher and higher. That was what he talked about. There was a time that I was able to use my Trudy card and not pay the PST and GST, and now I can't. And I know Sean could probably relate to that too. I try sometimes in the stores, but it only works on the Crown land out in our First Nation communities. But I really understand the talk about the taxes. That's all I seem to hear about from people. And together we can, find solution, hopefully. Thank you.
You should always expect continuous improvement from your city. So yeah, you should hear this all the time about finding efficiencies, but don't expect a 0% tax increase. It's a pretty way to get votes, but it puts us in a situation where we can't afford to maintain the city we have. Over the last 4 years, we have found in cost savings, efficiency, and reductions $23 million. In addition to that, we've saved $21 million in the last 4 years by relining sewer pipes as opposed to replacing them. We've saved another $2 million in water leakage because we're focusing in on those. We're using data to focus in on the water mains that are breaking most often, targeting those, reducing the amount of water we're leaking, and actually doing better for our residents on that score. When inflation has gone up 16.5% in the last 4 years, mill rate only did not match that. We are under a mill rate, and we have expanded services to the city of Regina.
Will you commit to having free transit for high school students and seniors and expanding paratransit?
I totally agree with that question. Seniors should not have to pay for paratransit. I think paratransit should be free for seniors. My grandma used it, and she used it every day. And I know without the paratransit service that was available, she would have never been able to socialize. and do half the stuff that she needed to do in order to keep herself alive as a senior and to keep herself, like, her life seeming worthy. And we liked it too because it got her out of the house and it made her more vibrant when she got back, and she had stories to tell and was happy to tell. And when it comes to transit fares for students and things like that, 100%, if they're going to school, and it's expensive enough to go to school, they need a break, and the city should be there to help them at least get to school, because they're the future of the city. They're the people that are going to be paying our taxes and the infrastructure and everything in the future, so we should be taking care of the seniors and also the students that way. Thank you.
You know, a robust public transportation system is critical for a city to thrive. If we're going to grow this city, which means we increase our tax base, which that's how we're going to find revenue. That's the only way we can raise revenue. So if we're going to go down that road, which is what I really believe we need to be doing, our public transport system has to be top notch. I would happily have us start the conversation about how do we do different fares for seniors and students. If I say to you right now, I want it to be free, I can't tell you where that savings is going to come, because that's another cost. I would love to have the conversation though, because I know there are creative people in our city, there are innovative people in our city, there are people who use our system where they'll have good ideas about, and maybe we can find the answer to do this. And if it's not free, maybe it's reduced. But I'm 100% committed to having that conversation and would love to see where it takes us. Thank you.
I'm in the same boat. Seeing the dollars and cents of it, absolutely, I'd be open to it. And I think that we should be looking to make that easier for high school students and seniors. Absolutely be open to it. We also have to be aware that our public transit system needs a revamp. It needs a relook to make it more attainable for everybody, to be honest. That needs to come part and parcel. If we start making it more affordable, for more people, we're going to see more use out of it. So we have to make sure that we increase the capacity, increase the availability of our public transit system alongside offering some of these services.
Thank you very much. So, this has been a discussion around the council table. And, we did talk about offering it and thinking about for seniors as well. And I know that there was a report in the cost income that did come did come back. And I think, when we look at all of this, honestly, you think of all of these great initiatives and you want to do all of them because you want to give free this, you want to give free here, you want to do that. End of the day, you have to make the tough decisions and you have to say, okay, where can we do that? And that's looking at the holistic piece of the budget. I absolutely agree that I think if we want to get our transit going, we want to get our young people, to and fro from school, and they shouldn't have to worry about the cost. That's one thing. But I also agree with our seniors. But it comes down to what is the cost and where are we going to find those dollars and what else are we going to do to balance that off? Thank you.
I totally support the same thing too. Seniors have paid their debt to society for the longest time, and they need a break. I would give them free transit and paratransit and expand the fleet of paratransit service. And for high school kids, because they are the younger generation, they are our future. They're the future that is going to shape this city in the next 100 years or more, which I believe they deserve also to have free transit in the city of Regina. Thank you.
I agree as well, that transit for the seniors and the high school students, perhaps a lower rate, because it is really expensive to take the transit system, the buses. My mother would get away, she loved riding the bus, going on the bus and, going downtown and visiting places. But yeah, I think that is it possible to lower the fares rates?
Okay, so I chair the school board city council liaison committee, and we've been talking about this for a couple of years now in any event, and I think a couple of councillors have presented the idea of a report back on piloting fare free transit for 13 to 18-year-olds. As you know, we implemented fare free transit for 13 and under this last term. There are discounted rates for high school students and seniors, as well as affordable access programs. So we already do those things. We've digitized it. I think part of the issue is that when it comes to the city, if we open it wide up, we have to gear the entire system up as though every high school student was going to take the bus. And so we wanted to start with the pilot project and into schools that perhaps were harder to get to, so that we could ensure students were getting to high school and see what percentage of ridership comes through, so that we could potentially expand it across the city. Thank you.
So this will be our final question of the night.
Council has been very divisive in the last term. What would you do to create cohesion on council?
What I think we need to do in order to create cohesion in council is we need to educate council a little bit about First Nations communities and how we run and how our simplicity of our life goes. I'm a proud Caldas member. I sweat, I sundance, I follow a traditional way of life. I think if we educated council in a little bit of the traditional ways that I was brought up in and that I taught, they would learn another way of thinking. And that's why I call my thinking outside the box. Because the way I think is a traditional way of living and a simplicity of that way. And I think if we had council thinking outside the box and thinking like a majority of our city people are, First Nations and other people, that would bring a coherency to our council, because they would understand the issues of the First Nations people, of our culture and things like that. And maybe, hey, even if we want to start introducing them to our culture a little bit more, because without a little bit of educating them, there's no benefit. So if we educate them, we'll get a little bit of beneficial stuff from educating our council. Thank you.
I would draw upon my experience in leading teams to build cohesion with our city council. How you do that? That's always the big question, right? Because like, well, how do you actually do that? Well, here's an example. This Wednesday night, I've invited all council candidates, 53 candidates, to my campaign office Wednesday night at 8 p.m. for a visit, a meet and greet. Because if we're going to work together, we need to be able to at least know each other and walk in and say, well, nice to meet you. How are you? That's how you start. When we actually get into council and I'm mayor, we will do things socially. It's not going to be party central. We'll go out for lunch. We'll have coffee together. We don't do that now, right? It's outside our scheduled meetings, getting to know each other, respecting the councillors as individuals and recognizing every single councillor is coming to the table with a different view of the world and the ultimate goal of making Regina better. Taking the time as mayor and leader to get to know those people and do things that bring us together, that's how we improve the cohesion. And recognizing people and treating them with respect. Huge piece of how you build cohesion. Thank you.
So I lead diverse team today. I've led a few diverse teams that are responsible for critical infrastructure, high impact projects, high pressure, deadlines, getting things done. Having that respect, having that engaged, energized team that you can work together, respect each other, that's imperative. The other part is rowing in the same direction. Having priorities on the same page, having pillars that everybody can lean into, safety and affordability, everybody can rally behind that. So when we talk about decisions, when we talk about debate, healthy debate is good. We need that. We need that to get the best decision possible. But we need to do it respectfully, and we need to do it with some kind of pillar, some kind of anchor that we can all rally behind, and that's what I'm going to bring.
Thank you. You know, it starts with a collaborative leadership. That means bringing everybody together. It's building a team and actually allowing everybody to have a voice at the table. That's one of the biggest things is, you know, everybody comes from a different background. And, you know, you want to make sure that everybody's voice is heard. And that, you know what, you have divergent, interests or decisions you may not agree on. And that should be okay. Because guess what? At the end of the day, we're representing our community. And that's how you work together. And that's how you build that team. And, you know, I do agree that, you know what, you can go out and you know, have a beer or get together and have a supper. Those are all important things as a council because you do become a team. So I would like to build that. But I also want to ensure that we've got respect in that chambers. And that comes from respecting each other as well. So I think that's another thing that we would actually really, really need to focus on. Thank you.
As being a president of a Lions Club, your members are kind of like a council. We make motions, we pass projects. But what I want to do with our city council is to work one-on-one with them, because a council is like your second family. Second family, you have to look out for one another, and I would like to have one-on-ones with them and do some fun activities, and at least then make sure that everybody is on the same page, like having a one-on-one. At least then you know, okay, well, this counselor doesn't agree with this topic, or some counselors don't agree with that topic. We all have to be on the same page to work together as one, because if only one person's doing one job, well, then you just have to make sure to fix it up and make sure everything's going good. Thank you.
And the last question. Cohesion with council. I received my master's in leadership, and I've been really productive leading teams in the jobs as director and manager in my past years of employment. And I always think if our leadership is divided and not together, then our community is going to be imbalanced. So I really believe that as mayor, that would be my focus, is to work collaboratively together with the council, be that team, be that strong voice for our community of Regina. Thank you.
You know, I get asked this question a lot. So much so that I went back and I looked at 2023. I looked at the volume of decisions we made, which were up over year 3 of the previous council, so a little bit more workload. But council voted together unanimously 70% of the time. And so the reality is that you elect 11 very different individuals. And when each one of them comes with the mindset of serving their city, and I believe they did. I believe that every councillor, to the best of their abilities, brought to that council table a diversity of view, of opinion. Sometimes it got a little, exciting. But at the end of the day, we finished off October 9th meeting, and there were hugs and handshakes all around, because you value that they understand that they brought a vote to the table, they debated vigorously, we shared ideas, we knocked those around, and I'm really proud of the work that we got done. Thank you.
All right, and now we'll be moving on to closing remarks. Each candidate will have 1 minute.
Okay, let me start off saying, see you soon, Mom. I'm almost done. Anyways, I really think the city needs to take a First Nations basis at everything that they do and every thought that they do, because that's where the money is. That's where the money is going to come from the government, is by working in partnership with these First Nations. That's what's going to cut our costs down for building these projects. And when everyone gets home tonight, just Google who owns Life Labs, and you will see that $900 million a year is going to United States. Google who owns Prairie Skies Medical Imaging and see how much that private company makes. And then if you do your research, you will find that we have all this documentation for us. We're trying to intensify Regina. We're trying to grow the community. There's a lot of immigrants here, the aging community. There is no shortage of health service industries that the city can get into with First Nations. And if you take a deep look into this, you will find that this is $1 million ideal that the city needs to get in now before $1 billion company comes in and takes this away, and then our taxes will be rising, and then I won't be able to keep a promise, if elected, to keep taxes low and not raise them. So remember November 13th to vote Sean for mayor. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for coming tonight and asking the questions. Really appreciate the opportunity to get to know each other a little bit better, and I hope we have more time. I'm going to go back to one of the main drivers of why I jumped into this race. Back on New Year's Eve, you may have heard the story, somebody froze to death at a bus stop in Regina. A few days later, the footage came out from a business nearby. For 7 hours, they watched that person die. And I stopped for a moment. I said, is this the city we've become? Is this where we're headed? And I'm not mad at the drivers or the transit people. It just, that's a moment to pause and say, who are we as a city? Where is our compassion? And that starts with the mayor. The mayor has got to lead by example, has got to show their compassion for our citizens, has got to show their diplomacy and decency for all citizens of the city, not just the ones that will support their emotions to get something forward. It has to be for everyone. And that was a huge driver for me to step into this race, is to bring back the Regina I know that cares about everyone. Thank you.
I go back to my original point and plan. We need a more strategic approach to the city. We need a more thoughtful approach to the city. We need to invest in the foundation. You don't put paintings on the wall of your house when your foundation's crumbling. You fix the foundation to make sure that it's safe and affordable, and you don't have that ongoing, recurring, exponential cost that we're seeing today, which is translated into our property taxes. That's my plan. I want to bring that cohesive, consistent vision with safety and affordability at the groundwork of every decision that we make in council, and make sure that we invest in the core of our city first so we can build the nice things for the future. So if you believe in that, please vote for me, Chad Bachynski.
Thank you very much. Just want to say thank you for hosting, and to all of you for coming out. Tonight is really what the next 4 years should be, engaging our community to find out exactly what we want to do and how we move. Your voice is very important. One of the biggest pieces, why, again, I'm going to tell you, we got to get back to the core services, things that are really important to us. We need to actually be financially accountable, ensuring that every dollar is being spent, that we are accountable for you. It's your tax dollar. And safety, talking about public safety, and it's a key piece of information. But you know what? I really ran because, we looked at the whole piece. We made the international stage this year, which is very, very embarrassing for our city. And it was very embarrassing for a woman. And at the end of the day, I want to change that. I want to get back to being proud of our city, who we are, why we love our city. And your Cathedral neighborhood here is a key piece to Regina. Thank you very much.
I'd like to say thank you for the Cathedral for holding this forum tonight. And I always think, your voice, your vote matters. As my closing statement, I'd like to say that everybody and the people matters. That I would like to bring back more tourism to Regina, fix our core infrastructure, and fix our crime, and fix the issues that will make this city great again. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. But to bring back, make sure to have honest politics, and I want to make a difference in this city again. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for the invite here tonight, and thank you for the questions. At first, when I put my name forward to run for mayor, I had so many people coming to me with questions, and which is great. It's fine. That's what I want to hear is your voice. I want to hear your concerns, your issues. As your mayor, I want you to know that I care, and sure, there's a lot of projects and there's a lot of things that are left to be done, right, in the future, moving forward. And this is your city. You have a beautiful city, and we could do more together. And as your mayor, vote for me on November 13th.
I am really proud of the city of Regina. I'm proud of the people that live here. I'm proud of how hardworking and resilient and creative and artistic and compassionate they are. And I see it every day, every single day. They're ambitious and innovative. We are all these things already. I don't tell our story very well sometimes. But we have been making infrastructure investment more than ever before. We have been keeping taxes below the rate of inflation. We have been investing in relationships with other levels of government, but as important, community associations, community-based organizations, businesses, post-secondary institutions. We need to keep doing that. We need to take all of those relationships, all of what we've learned, and leverage it to keep the momentum going. We've invested in safety and crime and compassionate outreach and supportive housing. We need to keep doing that. Thank you so much for having me tonight.
All right, that concludes tonight's forum. Thank you all for coming. Political interest and engagement is incredibly important, so it's great to see a full house. Thanks to all the candidates for coming tonight. They'll have some brochures in the back if you're interested in reading a little bit more. We also have a volunteer sheet out front. Thanks for coming.